Welcome to Other People's Shoes. This season, we're exploring what it means to be unmade. Life can sometimes feel like an unmade bed. Messy, chaotic, and overwhelming. But here's the beauty. Every unmade bed has the potential to be remade. In Season 20, we're sharing powerful stories of people who faced their life's chaos head-on and found the courage to rebuild, turning their messes into masterpieces. Just like starting your day with a simple act of making your bed, these stories remind us that small steps can lead to extraordinary transformations. So put on your shoes and take the first step toward remaking your own life. You're about to be inspired, challenged, and encouraged in ways you never expected. This is Other People's Shoes, Season 20. Unmade. And now, here's your host, Neil Matthews.
Yes, welcome in, one and all. Other People's Shoes, Season 20, Unmade. You know, here's the beauty and the joy of life for me. Now, I hope this resonates. I hope this echoes across whatever you're listening and however you're listening today, which, by the way, thank you for listening today. But you know what resonates and connects with me every day is the fact that you can take one small, we used to call them badging when I was in sales. It was a badge. Like you'd look at somebody and they were maybe wearing a team logo or a something, and you could take that little fragment of them, facet of them, and you could turn it into a conversation, and you immediately find common ground. That's what I love about this show, and that's what I love about doing it, is the connection. So today, we have a connection. I believe it's a very strong connection already, and I cannot wait to have you meet this gentleman today. I'm excited that he's here. He's a United States Marine, and I got to tell you, that always makes my heart go just a little bit pitter-patter. It brings up a lot of emotion even. When I say that, maybe for some of you, that again echoes through the cross and it ripples down your way like a stream. We've dropped a little pebble in. We're going to make some ripple effects today. Help me welcome in my new friend, James, from the great state of South Carolina.
Hey, man, I am so excited to be here, man. So, hey, thank you for inviting me here. For all my Marines out there who are sticklers, I'm retired. So when you see this little stubble down here, I'm retired. But, you know, once a Marine, always Marine. We never stop being that. And now I'm a motivational speaker, podcast host myself. I am so happy to be on this platform. So thank you for inviting me. And so hope your listeners get something from this meeting today.
James, that's the beauty and the best part is the fact that there is a Marine mindset. There is this Marine ambiance and again, culture. We were talking about culture in the green room, aka the blue room, because my room isn't green, it's blue. So it'd be weird to call it a green room because there isn't really a lot of green in here. I mean, the states behind me are green on the map. I think there's like one green garden gnome in the corner, but that's about it. There's not a lot of green.
No, not at all.
But I love the fact of what you're saying already is just this idea that, listen, there is a Marine here. And I think that again brings in about a different conversation. So again, James, we're excited you're here as well. We're excited to hear more about your story. Before we get to that though, I got to ask this question, and that's this. What size shoes do you wear?
It's a loaded question. The older I get and the more weight I gain, it seems like my shoe size changes. All right, so one day I'm wearing a size 11. Then the next day I'm wearing an 11 and a half. And I think I had to put on a 12 the other day. I really don't know. I was a 10 at one point. Like I said, I really don't know. If I had to narrow it down to one, I would go with a 11. I would say a size.
Good, because I can get into an 11. I can even get into like an 11 and a half. I bought some Trey Young's shoes. They were Adidas and they were all blue before he dropped Adidas to go to Jordan, which is okay. I'm okay with him being on Jordan, by the way. I don't know why, but I am. Yeah, they're an 11 and a half. And I was like, what's going on here? Because I used to rock a 10 and a half in high school. Yeah, much like you, it keeps getting bigger. And I'm like, soon I'm going to be in like these 14s or 23s or whatever. Ugh.
I think those are older people problems. Like the older you get, things happen to your body that you don't realize happen. Oh, and also, I thought you were talking about sending me the Trey Youngs. I thought that was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've worn them
Okay.
twice. Yeah. I've worn them twice.
Okay.
They're in the mail.
That's why I thought you were asking me my shoe size. I was like, oh man, it's so nice. You just give gifts like that for coming on. Man.
I should. Actually, and here's the thing. If I ever get so big time, somebody just wants to throw money at the show, which, listen, you got an empty checkbook? Let me know. I can fill it. I dream of that one day, of like having a custom shoe that I could send to people. That would be fun. But I don't know if anybody would wear them.
I'm trying. You see, like I'm branding here.
There you go.
Right, so that's like my slogan. So I mean, I'm starting with clothes. Maybe one day I'll get a shoe.
We got hoodies and hats. I didn't wear any clothing today. Usually, well, I mean, I wore clothing. Let's be clear. I'm not just chilling here.
I'm okay with the North Carolina.
Oh, it's always every day, all day.
Yeah,
every day, all
I'm
day.
good with that.
It's even got the Ram, right there.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It's
and I see the gun. I see the workout.
Yeah.
I see the
workout. There's no workout. No. Jim and I are not friends. No. I hate Jim. I hate everyone named Jim except James. I'm liking James. Jim or Jimmy? Nah, not a fan of that guy. That guy sounds awful. Well, how about, speaking of Trae Young and brands, and you're on brand segue, that's what they call that now. Is there a brand or style of shoe that James likes to maybe adorn more than others?
The older I've gotten, with having 2 teenage boys, and I have an older daughter, my teenage boys are still in the house. James likes shoes that are discounted. So those are the shoes that I tend to draw to. So I love outlets, and I love looking at, where's the sale? I'm really not particular about any particular shoe that I may love. I just love shoes that are discounted and that they look nice. No particular brand. So like, I'm not a Jordan guy. Like, I'll wear Jordans. I don't mean, no, let me restate. I mean, like, I'm not the person, like, every time a Jordan drops, I'm not going to be waiting in line or anything like that. So do I have Jordans? Yes, I do have Jordans, and I do like the shoe. I'm just not like, I'm not particularly waiting on a particular pair of shoe. I don't have a dream shoe or nothing.
Okay, right. Yeah, you don't have shoes that you've only worn once and never worn again and then put on a shelf. You're not like that?
No. Now, my wife would say, like, I'm a shoey. I don't think so, because I go and I look at my friends' closets, and I look at this. I look at this right here, and I'm like, this is attic problems. This is and look, and I know this is only one room. I haven't seen the rest. This is only one room. This looks like just your North Carolina room. So I can only imagine the rest. So I'm just saying.
So we built our house. And in the process of building our house, my wife came to me and said, listen, what do you think about these countertops? Just as an example. And I said, honey, I don't care. And she said, no, like, what's your opinion? And I looked at her, kind of hugged her, pulled her out, arm's length. And I looked at her right eye to eye. And I said, I say this with the most amount of respect I have for you. I love you. I would die for you. I don't care. I don't care how the house looks. I don't care about the countertops. I don't care about the stove. I don't care about the paint. I do not care. And she said, so let me get this straight. You don't care? You don't care about the house? I said, no, I care about the house. I just don't care about the details. My hard drive space cannot handle that. She said, okay. So her brother starts building our house. And before he even gets it built, he has this room that I'm sitting in built. I call it the shoe shack. And he said, this is going to be done before your house is. And I said, does your sister know that? Because she said no, that this was going to be built after the fact. He goes, yeah, we all know you need your own space and your own environment and your own way to explore and have your own area. We're going to contain you out there. I decorated this room. My wife decorated the house.
So that's what this is. So this is just your man cave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I've been moved around a few times though. Like,
samesies. Yeah. Samesies. Hands up. Yeah.
So I finally have settled on a room. So I finally got a room. So that's why you see this stuff up, so I finally got my little man cave. So I'm working my way around, putting everything in. I understand, like, having your own space. And I'm the same way. I think that's a husband answer. When your wife asks you, like, nah, baby, I don't, if you're happy with it, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, she's asking me about the tub, and she's like, how much the tub is going to be. And I said, listen, we're only going to do this once. We're only going to build once. Most of the time, people only build one custom home, if they have an opportunity to. And I said, get what you want. Like, we're doing this one time. Like, this isn't like Disney World. We're not going again, like, in about 5 years. We're done. No more.
Because truly, who needs to be happy with it? Like most
That's it.
times,
That's-
it's their home.
Yeah.
That's why you're outside.
That's why I'm outside. Yeah, bro, I'm outside. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like my house was done first, then her house was built. It's fine. Yeah. So yes, I have shoes that I have only worn once. They hit the Dean Smith Center floor. They're Jordan 11s, and I put them back in my bag and flew back to Oregon, and they have not touched Oregon ground since that day. Very sacred shoes. I know, silly perhaps to some. Well, James, help us with this. When you thought about, or maybe we approached you about the idea of this unmade bed, this messiness, this chaos, this clutter, some would even say, what came to mind for you, and how is that part of your story?
Well, I would say because I've had a few things that happen in my life, like adversity. When you said unmade bed, every day I feel like you're dealing with something, and some things can creep up from your past and still be messy, still like bother you, but you have to remember that you have to move forward. When I started speaking, once I got out of the Marine Corps, one of the things I speak about is greatness does not need approval. And what it is it talks about my life. It talks about where I come from and how I grew up, how my journey to get to being a master gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, a E9, which is the top 1% of all Marines, and every Marine doesn't get there. Some things that happened early on in my life that could have prevented me from being there. I could have let prevent me. Now, those were still things that bothered me all throughout my life. When I speak, and I speak to students a lot of times, I speak about my journey from at the age of 6 being molested. And that was one of the first things that, like when you talk about being unmade, I experienced something that a child should never go through at such a young age. Now I feel somewhere about my body. I'm not confident at all. Something happened to me and something was taken away from me early on in my life. At that age, it unlocked something in me that shouldn't have been unlocked. I was overweight. I had gap teeth. My classmates wasn't always the nicest to me. So now I'm dealing with all these things at such a young age. So I struggled all throughout school. I remember failing the 7th and the 8th grade. And like I tell people, this is something my sister always reminds me of until this day. She always jokes with me that I failed the 7th and the 8th grade. I'm really just dealing with so much at a young age, and nobody really knows, because a lot of teenagers go through things like this and they're just trying to just deal with it. And it came to a point to where summer of my 9th grade year, I thought about committing suicide. And that was the day that I tell people my mindset changed. And once my mindset changed, things began to get better in my life. So when you talk about being unmade, that is what I think about when it's talk about unmade. That was something that I carried with me for a long time, all throughout my Marine Corps career. I even became a sexual assault prevention specialist, where I helped other people who had been sexually assaulted. And I did that, and I signed up for that role of what had happened to me. And a lot of people did not know that. I was actually doing stuff, working in something that had happened to me because of that. It got to a point to where I even shared this with my wife. It was already after I had got out of the military. And once I began to speak about it, I was maybe 38, 39 years old. And I finally told my mother what had happened. My dad passed away, never even knowing that. You talked about being unmade. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Everything that went on with me, how it affected me throughout my adult life, to the point to where I had to take the power back by telling somebody, eventually telling my wife. It affected me in my marriage. There was things in my marriage that it affected me because of what happened in that. So when you talk about being unmade, that was the first thing that came to mind.
Most Marines I know are bed makers. It is rare that I meet somebody that doesn't have their stuff squared away. We talked about my dad preliminarily, again, in the green room, blue room. I remember as a kid, him coming into our room to do inspections so we could go to church or have a weekend out with friends and stuff, and he would flick the proverbial quarter against the bed if it popped. I mean, it was seriously real life. I remember shoving stuff under my bed so he wouldn't see it. He would just look at the bed and look at the floor and then move along. My mom said, "Did you look under the bed? They put everything under the bed. That's where they hide everything." My dad's like, "They don't do that." And then he went in there and saw that, again, everything was under the bed. Not everything had its home or its place. I had to then clean my room rather than do the fun thing I wanted to do. I was raised on the idea that Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. As silly as that sounds as a nursery rhyme, James, I'm wondering about that for you. I look at the king as the king of kings. And I wonder sometimes in life if people are trying their best to put us together the way the king didn't design us to be put together. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put James back together again. There's so many people that probably tried to put you back together, that tried to make you and mold you. The Marines are good at that. They tear you down and then they build you back up into the Marine they want you to be. Maybe again, not by the design of the king. Did that have any effect on you?
Do we know each other, or do we just think we know each other? We live in this world where when somebody asks you, how are you doing? Do you really want to know? Are you really asking me how I'm doing? Or is just something that's being polite and what we say? At that time, I felt like I was betraying myself to please other people. And once I stopped doing that, I became more of myself. I still was hiding something. I still had, like you said, I still had things under the bed. So while the bed seemed like it was made, I wasn't made. And I still was like really just struggling with things. Having that imposter syndrome, a lot of people talk about that imposter syndrome. I'm always wondering, is somebody really going to see me for who I am, or the things that I thought I was at the time? Even though I'm doing better and I have a smile on my face, I'm still nervous like somebody is going to see me for who I am. You let people get close, but you don't let them get so close. Really, look how long I've been married for 17. It took me 13, 14 years to tell my wife about it. Can I be that vulnerable? And I love my wife, and I feel like I could. It was just something still like in me, just still afraid to talk about it. When you talk about all these people in your lives, like my mother and my father, even though we grew up, we didn't have a lot of money and we grew up in the trailer parks and everything like that. My mother and father loved me. I never doubted that my mother and father loved me. They always told me, son, you can do whatever you want. They always poured into me. But still, I'm just like, did people try? Yeah, people did try until you let go of what happened, till you are willing to just forgive something and just say, like, I can no longer let this thing control me. That's when I feel like we start in the process of taking those things from under the bed and really cleaning our rooms and really making that bed and everything being the way it should be. People always try to help. Until you're ready for help, until you're ready to sit down and really talk to somebody about it, your bed is going to continue to be unmade.
My very first season of doing this show, we didn't really have a theme yet. We were still kind of figuring, I mean, you know this as a podcast host, still trying to figure out what you're doing, mics using, audio, all the things. There's a lot that you're juggling, I would say, in those early days of podcasting. And I mentioned to one of my coworkers, his name's Uriah, and I mentioned to him just kind of in passing that I was starting a podcast and it was going to be called Other People's Shoes. And he said, so what's the idea? And I said, well, the idea is like I'm in their shoes. Like I'm going to ask people brand of shoes that they wear and maybe shoe size and just be funny to start with, kind of get into their story. I said, but the whole premise is I want a different perspective. I don't want to go and talk to people that just believe and know what I know. I want to get a more rounded perspective, and I don't care who they are. And he said, really? So you don't care about their background, their religion, none of that? And I said, no, I really don't. I said, you know, I'm a Christian, sure. But am I a Christian show? No, I'm not gonna be. I think. I don't know. Again, still trying to figure it out. And he said, well, know somebody that might come on? And I said, yeah, sure. Send them my way. You know, here's my email, whatever. And he goes, well, do you want to know a little bit of their story? And I said, sure. Yeah. If it's okay that you're sharing their story. And he goes, yeah. And so we go to lunch one day at work and he starts sharing with me that he was sexually abused by a youth pastor. I stopped him, and not because I didn't want to hear the story or it was too hard. And by the way, it was very hard. And I said, no, don't tell me anymore. And he goes, why? And I said, I don't want to know the story. I want to know when we record together. And I said, man, that must have been horrific. And he said, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with God now. I'm done with church. God's dead to me. And I was like, wow, hold all this together. So he came over one night and we sat in my living room and we recorded this episode, and it's still up now. Like, I've never taken it down. In fact, to date, I think it's still my #1 ever downloaded show ever. And I don't know why. I don't understand it. As a creator, I don't know. But I knew a little bit about you, and I knew that was part of your story. And again, I'm not trying to compare yours, Uriah's. There's no comparison. You're two different people. Two different things happened to you. Uriah was somewhat of a preteen. He wasn't 6. When I think of a 6-year-old, I think of my show. I know this sounds maybe silly to some. My show just turned 6 years old in January. I've been doing it for 6 years now. And so again, I was trying to envision what it's like to be a 6-year-old. What would a 6-year-old think about the world that I live in? What would the 6-year-old know about this world? And what is the 6-year-old experience, good and bad? For you, it's 6, I can't even imagine. Like, you should be thinking about Power Rangers and T-ball, cartoons, and maybe video games, maybe developing your love for books if you love books, and maybe learning to write and learning to express yourself on paper, and maybe again still learning to express yourself publicly like a public speaker, or maybe still trying to find your feelings out about life, who you want to be. At 6, by the way, I didn't even know who North Carolina was or North Carolina basketball at 6. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that till I was like 13. 6, you're still innocent. How on earth have you forgiven the person that did that to you, that stole that from you?
God forgives me for a lot of things that I've done in my life. I haven't always been perfect. It's been really a lot of my faith. As I tell people, if you aren't willing to forgive, then that thing or that person will always control you. I'm a big believer in not letting something control you. So now every time I think about somebody, I hate them or I hate that. And I hate that what happened to me, what it did was now as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, I'm having sexual thoughts. Why am I having sexual thoughts at that age? I shouldn't even be thinking about sex. Like you said, I should be thinking about playing sports. I should be thinking about my schoolwork. I should be thinking about everything other than what process that it began to open up in me. It does some things to you at that age. Actually, it made me less confident in who I was. It made me more vulnerable. A lot of times when it happens once, it begins to happen multiple times. I tell people about the first one, but it happened multiple times. Somebody being that young, it was hard. I can't hold on to it. I really believe my faith has brought me through a lot of things because I refuse to hold on to it and let it control me. Like all this week, that's all I've been thinking about. And it's crazy that we're talking today. I'm going to send something out to my viewers about like forgiveness. It's a big thing because I just don't want you to just stay in that place. You will continue to stay in that place and it really affects the rest of your life if you don't let that thing go. And that thing will always control you and you just don't want to be in that place. So you're right. It was hard growing up being that way, not as confident in my body. For instance, wrestling, we used to have to wear singlet tights. So being that young, I'm thinking about like, how does my body look? How's somebody else looking at me? So I'm very sensitive to that at that point because of everything. It just makes you more aware of stuff that should have been still innocent. It just takes away that innocence. It made me as a parent, like I really watched my kids to make sure like, all right, like you good? Okay. All right. When they stay over at somebody's house, even people that you trust, you still like, you're looking at them, make sure they're acting normal, nothing changed with them. This is people that you trust that you send them to. Because like you said, it was a youth pastor, the young man that you were talking about before. And what I hate about that is it changed somebody's perspective of God and who God is, of somebody else who wasn't a good person. That person really affected that person's life. And look how long, and I don't know if that person has come back to God or anything like that, but now you tore away something and you took a connection away. And that person's going to have to pay for that in the long run. That's why I was telling you about being sexual assault prevention, like specialist or advocate. That helped take some of the power back because now I was trying to help other people to understand these things happen. At the time, the numbers said like 1 in every 6 females had been sexually assaulted in their lives. I read something the other day, it said like 1 in 4. It said, but males think they are exempt. I read something that said, back then it was like 1 in 33. I read something the other day, it said 1 in every 21. This is something that happens. I've had a few podcast guests on myself, and that's one of the things that comes up. When you look around, people are dealing with so much in their lives, and we're just trying to make it from day to day, and we're just trying to be strong. When these things happen, you have to be aware and you have to be sensitive to that. And I've always been sensitive that, man, people have things going on and it affected me as a leader. Somebody did something wrong. Like if you worked for me, I would be upset that you were late. I would be upset that you did something negative. But the first question out of my mouth would be like, are you good? How are you doing? So I give you the right to tell me like, are you in a good space? Maybe it's a reason why you acted out. So I always check and make sure the person is, for me, I'll call it like it's a heart check. It might have just not been just like, I'm just a terrible person or a terrible Marine that I did what I did. Maybe it's something that happened and that's what it is. So I just try to peel the onion back before we go.
I love the fact that you can sit here today and say, I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it wasn't just like you woke up one day and said, hey, the person or people that did this to me, I forgave them. I'm good. All's good. Moving on. Onward and upward. Greatness doesn't need permission. I'm good. I'm great. Maybe you jumped on Amazon and you're like, okay, I forgave this person. I'm good. I just bought forgiveness. Yes, 2 days from now it'll be here. Prime delivery. I think that's the problem is that people say with their words, I forgave you. James, I forgive you. James, I'm white. I mean, let's just put it out there. I'm white, you're black. James, please forgive me for all the bad my white ancestors have done to you. I mean, people say that with their words, but their actions say something different. Has that been your experience when you talk about the idea of forgiveness? And how is it that your words are different than your actions were?
Well, I think when you forgive somebody, people think you forget. And I think you'll see that person like you don't forget. It's hard to forget. Like if it happened, it's hard to forget that it happened. Each day you just try to distance yourself further and further from what happened. So yeah, you don't forget. It would be dangerous for us, like you said, you brought up the black and white thing. It would be dangerous for us to forget that these things happen because then we can travel that path again. So you don't forget. When I mean forgive, that's why I love your other people's shoes. I understand you grew up different from me. You told me a little bit about your story before, but some people may assume because you're this color, this is how you grew up. Some people may assume because I'm this color, this is how I grew up. I understand. Like I tell people, I said, I have 3 kids. They grew up in the same house, under the same rules. We've tried to raise them all the same. They are 3 different kids. How can I expect other people who did not grow up the same way that I grew up, because I have 2 sisters and they grew up living life from female perspective. I grew up from a male perspective. It's all going to be different. I just judge the person for the person that they show me today. And then going back to forgiveness, people really don't realize from that day, it really was a mindset shift. I said, man, it had gotten so bad that I didn't want to be here anymore. I said, is life really that bad that I don't want to be here? Yes, those things hurt me. And they really did. They hurt me, the things that I went through, not to be here. As long as I have breath in my body, I'm just going to try to make the best of my life as it is today. And so I just really, from that day on, anybody who knows me, they know that now you meet a positive person and you would never guess like some of the things that I went through. Even in the military, when we talk about being unmade, now I'm in the military for, at that time, I think I was like year 14. My career is going great. I mean, I'm doing well. I'm getting promoted ahead of time, everything. I'm doing really well in my career. And then life goes boom. Now I'm in Virginia. I get orders to go to Texas. My grandmother is put in hospital. Now, during that time, nobody in my family had really been passing away. Nobody had been dying. So now my grandmother gets put in hospital. Boom. Okay. We can kind of deal with that. You know, I love my grandmother, but you start, you get older. This is how life works. Well, my dad at the time, he's 57. He has a stroke. And what's crazy about that stroke, it happened to be a weekend we came home to visit. We were visiting my dad. That night, it seemed like we had the greatest time. One of the fun, me and my dad always joked with each other. So fun. It was so funny. My dad told us, he said, I could have been a doctor. And I just clowned him so bad that night. And then we're on our way back and my dad has a stroke. And over the next 4 years, my dad's health will continue to decline. So now I go out to Texas. So I'm waiting on my grandmother to pass away. Right? Well, guess what happened? One of my closest cousins passed away. Well, guess what happens after that? A friend that I grew up with passes away. Well, guess what happens after that? One of my classmates who married my cousin. So and I'm from a small town. So we were really close. That person passes away. And now my grandmother passes away. And this is all within like the first 6 months of me being in Texas. So now I'm dealing with all these things. And now while I'm in Texas, I'm trying to still get promoted. Now my dad so he's getting sicker and sicker and sicker to the point to where he could no longer work. I end up moving my parents out to live with me. So this causes a lot of stress in my household and everything like that. So I'm just not in a good place mentally. So I'm depressed and everything, and I'm not talking to anybody because guess what? At that time, now I have become the person that everybody goes to. I have become the person that everybody talks to. And now I have become the person that everybody gives their problems to. So, and sometimes as men, we can't show weakness. And now as a Marine, I definitely can't show weakness. And now because of my stature and my rank at the time, I definitely can't show weakness. I was as weak as I had ever been. To the point to where I was playing basketball one day. I got mad. We lost the game and I would not get off the court. I threw the ball in the stands. I was acting so out of my mind and crazy. And one of my friends said, man, Jay, man, what's wrong? And I broke down and that was when I realized that I was so depressed and I couldn't handle what was happening at that time. And so my dad would go on to pass away, but even before my dad passed away, one of my closest cousins passed away just before him, a couple months before him. I'm dealing with all these things in my life. And I'm just like, man, how am I going to make it? And that's where I go back to my faith, man. If it wasn't for God to get me through these situations where we are unmade, because I was unmade. I was so vulnerable at that time. Me and my wife were not in a good place. Everything that was going on, it was so much stress and I wasn't sharing things with her. I wasn't being a good husband at that time because I just had so much going on. That was hard. I told devil, you will not take my marriage, and devil, I am not going to give in to what you're trying to do right now. And I just trusted God, and it got me through that situation. So like being unmade, man, I've been unmade a few times. Thankful that I know a person. I know a guy who can help make you whole. So I'm thankful for this opportunity, man. And this has been awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you for the counseling session. And I'm getting this for free. So I appreciate it. I'm getting a lot of stuff out right now.
Yeah, it's all good. That's what we're here for. I don't know about counselor.
You're right, because I would have to pay you.
Yeah.
So you're right.
There ain't no money changing hands, though. No Venmos were exchanged in the recording of the show. But here's the thing, James, is I look at your exterior. I'm looking at the outside of the jacket, the book jacket, if you will. The album artwork, CD rack of old, rummaging through the CD rack. For some, that just brought them back to nostalgic. One of my favorite questions to ask is this time traveling thing. Go back to 6-year-old you and you tell yourself, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to make it. You're going to be a master gunnery sergeant. Don't worry, kiddo. You're going to be all right. That's a great question. Brings a lot of people to tears sometimes, but I'm going to flip the script because it's you and I feel like I got to flip the script. I want you to go again back in time, but this time I don't want to necessarily talk to little James. And I don't say that disrespectfully, younger James. I want you to talk to the person that was doing the sexual assault to you. What would you say to that person?
I forgive you. I forgive you. And I don't know if you know what you did by your actions. I don't know if you truly understand the ramifications, things that it caused me to go through in my life. You did something to somebody that young and unlocked something in somebody that young that shouldn't have been unlocked. I would say, even though you did that, I forgive you. One day, I hope you forgive yourself for what you did. I just pray that it wasn't other people who went through what I went through. It was a teenage cousin. They were like 12, 13. Like, I don't know truly if they really understood what they were doing. I've talked to somebody about this and they said they did. And I got it. I don't know. 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, they go through so many hormonal changes. I tell this story because I really just want to help people to understand. We have to try to get through it every day to be better and to educate people. Like, you have to, like, to educate parents. You have to watch your kids and who you leave your kids with. Make sure you're talking to your kids, making sure you're educating your kids, asking them questions like, did anybody touch you inappropriately? Especially when they're coming from places that maybe like they've never been, like you've been around people, like you let your kids stay at people's house. Even if it's family, you have to make sure that your kids and everything's on the up and up. With that just being that, at that time, man, I forgive you. That's what I would tell that person is, I forgive you. I've moved on from it. Even though it hurt me, it did not stop me. It did not break me from serving God's purpose, being where God wanted me to be. And that's why I say greatness does not need approval. It just shows like you can come from something so hard, still make it out on the other side and do some great things with your life. And so now I just dedicate my life to really trying to help people, to help them through those circumstances. I've helped other people who thought about committing suicide, gotten to help people who've been sexually assaulted. I've used it. I took the power back, turned that pain into power, as they say, that saying. And so I just want you to know, you hurt me, but you didn't kill me. You didn't kill me, because I'm still here. I'm just doing the best I can to better myself and better my life.
Somebody were to want to know more about you, more about your story, the fact that you're saying greatness doesn't need permission. I think that's profound. When I first heard that, I thought, man, it almost makes me feel like my mom would write me a permission slip. Okay, Neil has permission to ride the bus. Maybe pin it to my shirt, especially in the younger years of kindergarten, like pin it to me with a safety pin. Your mama never did that, I'm sure, but my mom did because I would lose things quite often. I love that. Where does that come from? And then how can folks maybe learn more about you and your platform and what you're about? So
comes from that story. I never thought I would be a Master Gunnery Sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. Only like 1% of the world's population ever becomes Marine. So it's like to be like the top 1% of the top 1%. Wow. I never dreamed that. I tell the story of like coming from poverty, coming from being depressed, coming from being bullied, coming from the sexual assault, coming from wanting to commit suicide. So I tell that story everywhere I go to make sure people understand, man, you still have greatness inside of you. And no matter what you've been through, that doesn't mean that you have to stay where you were. You can always move forward and do great things with your life. And so that's what that's saying. And that comes from greatness does not need approval. Never did I think I would be here. Other people's shoes. Never did I think I would be telling people my story, just hoping that it would help somebody to get past whatever they have been through, to understand like you still are somebody special. You still are somebody great. You can find me, like I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, James Epps Jr. Like my website is James Epps Jr. So if you look up James Epps Jr., it's a motivational speaker there if you need speakers or anything like that. But that's where you can find me. On LinkedIn, I'm at JE_motivation_movement. On Facebook, it's just James Epps Jr.
Are you a Facebook guy? Is that where you like to hang out the most?
Yeah, I hang out probably the most on Facebook. I probably hang out the most on Facebook. What's crazy about all this, I'm going to share something with you. I do this for you, the people. While I am an extrovert, if you ever meet me in person, you will get a lot of energy, a lot of happiness. Hosting, I do not. I do everything on the internet. I do it for you, the people. So I need you, the people, to support. That is so hard because I look at a camera and I can record stuff. Like, I need the person. Like if I had to do this, but you're great at it. Like if I had to just talk just myself, oh my goodness. But when I get to talk to you, like I'm good. Like I'm let's do this.
You need that. You need that energy to feed off of. I get it. I've done solo shows too, and they suck. I'll just be honest. I need that too. I need that back and forth. All right, I got one more before we're gonna play a game together. I didn't tell you that in the Blue Room pre-show. And don't worry, the game's not hard. It's just silliness. Geno Smith, he at the time of this quote, he is playing for the Seahawks. They have just won on Monday Night Football. It's a pretty exciting Monday Night Football game. I think they beat Denver by 1. Nationally televised game. Is kind of Geno Smith's coming out party. A lot of people called it that. And they asked him after the game how he felt, and he has this quote.
The folks you said had written you off, maybe? What did you say to them?
Yeah, they wrote me off. I ain't right back, though. That's the problem. I ain't right back. Let's go.
Joke.
They wrote me off, and I didn't write back.
How does that relate to your story? Because I feel like it just does.
Yeah, I say this. Who cares if they doubt you? Who cares if they don't believe in your dreams or your goals? Who cares if they can't see your vision? Your greatness does not need anybody else's approval. So at this point in my life, all right, I really, hey, you either like me or you love me. It ain't nothing else. I know you ain't gonna hate me. It's no way. If you hate me, then that's something going on with you. I only want the best for you. I only want to see you do great. So if you don't like me, if you didn't like this interview, there's a problem with you, not me. There's a problem with you. That's how I feel when you say like folks wrote you off. People are always going to doubt you. People always are not going to believe in what you're saying. God didn't give them the vision, and God gave you the vision. God gave you the vision to do this podcast a long time ago. And so you've been doing great things with this podcast. So thank you for for everything that you're doing. That's how I look at it. Okay, so it's okay. You don't got to believe in this. All right, so you can get on this bandwagon now. You can get on it later because I'll still let you on. I'm not even going to hate on you like that. As we have spoken about the whole time, I still forgive you. I'll still forgive you for not believing in what I knew I was supposed to do. So, yeah, you can write me off. Go ahead. I dare you. Hey, hate fuels this. At this point, hate, okay, you don't like, okay, let me show you. So that's what I think Geno was saying. He was saying it with his chest, and I'm going to say it with my chest, and I encourage you to say it with your chest. Okay, you don't believe? Watch this. That's what why you got to do that? We about to end, and now you getting me all pumped up Now you're getting me in motivational speaker mode. Like, let's go. What you mean you don't believe? What you mean? You writing me off? Okay, let me show you. Because I ain't gonna write back. Because people are, this is the thing, man. People are always gonna doubt you. People are always going to doubt you. People are always going to say you come from bad stock. Like, they're going to look at where your parents come from. They're going to look at that your bed is unmade. They don't understand what's inside of you. Well, if people really knew what's inside of you, that did not you can't break me. Like, that's what it did. That's what you have to understand. I have been through too much. You can't break me. That's what Geno was saying. You can't break me. Do you understand where I came from? Do you understand what I've had to deal with to be where I am now? Because Geno at that time, I think Geno hadn't started for what, 8-9 years?
No, yeah, he hadn't. No, he'd been a backup, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, what you mean?
People wrote him off.
Yeah,
people wrote him off. When he came to the Jets, when he came out of West Virginia, people wrote him off.
So he was just telling them, if you think I'm not great, okay, we about to see. And I mean, that man done got a $2 million contract.
Yeah,
So he must be pretty good.
He's writing them back now.
Yeah,
He's writing them back now. Yeah.
You remember what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check this out. Yeah. James, that was good. I might just save that section for when I'm having a bad day. Play that section right there. I love it. Motivational speaker coming out. We're going to play our game. Here's Zach to tell us more about that. Zach, take it away.
It's now that time in the show to play the fastest growing game in the podcast world. We call it Heel Hustle. Today our guest will try to answer all 6 of these questions in 60 seconds or less to win an Amazon gift card. Amazon not responsible for this commercial spot, nor did they pay to let us use their name. Audience, feel free to play at home. Are you ready? Let's put 60 seconds on that clock. Ready, set, hustle!
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, James, one person you would trade places with for a week.
My wife, I need to know what she's thinking.
Nice. Guilty pleasure.
Ice cream.
Best compliment you've ever received.
Singing. I love to sing, so singing.
Worst piece of advice that you've ever received.
Oh, don't become a motivational speaker.
What is something you wish you were better at?
Oh, listening.
I disagree, but all right. What never fails to make you laugh?
Oh, my kids, they make me cry and they make me laugh. So my kids.
Nice job.
Oh, I still had more time.
You had time. You were going good. Good clip.
I went too quick.
That was pressure.
Hey, you had me sweating. That was the only time I sweat throughout the interview.
Like, let me get some Axe body spray on. You know, how many more products names can I drop this episode? Yeah. Well, James,
one day, hey, one day.
Well, James, truly, man, I'm so glad that we got to connect. I really am. I never know what's going to happen. That's the best part for me, is I never know what's going to happen, man. Really appreciate you. I love that we got to connect on Podmatch. I've been finding a lot of friends, as I call them, because guests seems so impersonal. And my friend said to me one time in high school, he said, you're a guest one time. After that, you become family. Yes, I only sit with people typically one time. I think guest is so impersonal. That's why I always lead with my new friend, because I feel like at the end of this, hopefully we can become friends. No pressure. If you want to be my friend, I'm taking applications.
I already did the interviews. I guess, like, I'll take the job.
This was your audition. I have separation anxiety issues, but that's another time for another show.
Look, I haven't met a friend that I don't like, so I like everybody. So really, because I really, this is crazy. I really want to see people do great. I love what you're doing. You know, I'm already a little envious of the mic and the shoe. You know, we talked about that. So yeah, of course I want to be your friend. I want to know how I can get a mic with a shoe. That's what I want to know. So.
Yeah, zip ties are an amazing thing, and it's just a baby shoe, so it's a little kid shoe. All right, well, James, again, thank you, man. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate all that you gave, all that you shared. I mean it. I really valued that, especially that Geno question. I did not know what that was going to unlock, but I'm so glad I asked it. So thank you again for being here, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me, and thank you to your guests for listening. Hopefully something sticks with you and it helps.
All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. I know. That's our show today. Listen, I don't know about you, but there's something about being motivated that is hard. I would love to say that I'm always motivated. I'm always on point. I'm always back around March. I'm admitting this. Okay. I'm admitting this. Back around March 10th-ish, I sat with a guest, and she'll be coming on soon, so fair warning. She challenged me to do something that I hadn't done in a long time, and that's read the Bible every day. I know the minute I said that, some of you are like, here we go. But listen, I got behind. It's supposed to be like every day, and I got behind. I started to realize, I don't have time for this. Okay, maybe it's not the Bible for you, but what's the one thing today that you could say, you know what, Neil, I want to change this thing, whatever it is, just picture that right now and do it. My wife said something to me during this period of time. She doesn't even know this. I'm telling her right now. Absolutely humbled me, you guys. She said, that's what I love most about you, Neil. She said, honey, but I'm saying Neil for you. She said, it's your ability to continue to want to get better every day and better yourself. I was so humbled by that. So today for you, what's that thing you can do that'll show and demonstrate to others? Like, listen, you might have wrote me off, but I didn't write back. Not from a demonstration standpoint, not from a 1, 2, 3 look at me, just in your own way, in your own discipline to say, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. Try that. Let me know. OPSpodcast.com is a great place to let me know. You can let me know on the socials at OPS Podcast Show under Facebook, Instagram, and X. Again, don't forget this when we go. Don't ever forget. And take this with you when you leave. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned till next week. Guess what? We're going to walk in other people's shoes.